Who was Eve with when she was being tempted in the garden? I'm Bridget Stair, and we're going to ask that question today on The Rooted Five. Welcome to week 3, day 2 of The Rooted Five. We're going to jump right into our memory verse, which is Genesis 3:15. And I will cause hostility between you and the woman, between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head and you will strike his heel. Again, that is Genesis 3:15. And I will cause hostility between you and the woman. I'm trying to memorize it. And between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head and you will strike his heel. Today we are going to be in Genesis 3, only verses 6 through 8. But there are some really important details in here, as yesterday we looked at how Satan was tempting Eve and really contemplating, have his tactics really changed that much? Today we are going to see how Eve responds. So I'm reading in the ESV this time instead of the New Living Translation. Verse 6, so when the woman saw the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. My first question: why did the woman take and eat the fruit? And question 2, who was with her while Satan was tempting her? And how do you know this? Verse 7, then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths. So question 3, what did they realize after eating the fruit? And 4, why did they sew fig leaves together? Verse 8, and they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. So question 5, how do you think Adam and Eve felt while they were hiding from God? Excuse me. So for my deeper dive today, quite possibly if you want to, this is something that I've already started doing, is sometimes I will share with my kids times that I knew that I was running from the Lord, or even hiding from the Lord, or avoiding the Lord because of something that I was doing, or sin in my life, or something that I was not doing that I knew He wanted me to do. So maybe discuss with your kids a time that you felt like you were hiding from God, or even ask your kids, has there ever been a time where you were hiding from God? And I think that is a concept that people forget, is that sin separates us from God. And we see that literally right after they ate the fruit. They realized they were naked, so they hid their bodies, and then they hid themselves. And how sad that probably before, if you think about it, when God would walk in the garden, what would Adam and Eve had done? They would have ran, jumped up in his arms, met him. Hey, how are you? Talked with him. And this was the first time that they hid because they had sin in their life. So maybe share a time that you were running from the Lord, and share how He called you out and delivered you from whatever it was that you were running from, or whatever it was that was keeping you separated from God. I think it's really important for kids to see that there are consequences to sin, that it separates us from God, and that when we seek God, when we go to Him, He will not reject us, right? If Adam and Eve had ran out to them, I wonder how different the conversation would have been. They still would have had to pay for their sin, but it does make me wonder how different that would have been if they had run to Him with tears and in remorse and repentant of their sin. So that is kind of a heavy day 2 for our Rooted 5 video, but I always feel like those are great conversations to have with our kids because sin is a daily part of our lives, sadly. And not only that, even when your kids are in school, they're seeing people committing sin oftentimes or living in sin. And so reminding that, hey, sin is going to separate you from God, and usually there are pretty big consequences to sin, which we will see later as we continue on in Genesis 3. Hope you enjoyed day 2, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 3.